to the member for McKellar.
Madam Deputy Speaker. Minister, as you know, the Turnbull government has announced a landmark package of comprehensive media reforms. This package of reforms will strengthen the protections for families and children in relation to exposure to gambling advertising, provide substantial financial relief to enable the broadcasting sector to adapt to a changing landscape, and recognises the changing consumer viewing patterns for high-quality Australian content. I'm particularly pleased that this package that seeks to preserve and enhance the viability of Australian media organisations who are under threat from foreign tech giants. And I also note, Minister, that tonight every major CEOs of every major Australian entertainment company are here in Parliament House supporting this package, and it is indeed a major achievement, unheralded in my lifetime, that a government has come up with a media reform package that has the support of every single major media player in Australia. I'm sure that you will agree that this is a package that is unabashedly pro-Australian media, pro-Australian voices and pro-Australian stories. We as a government have listened to community concerns about the impact of gambling on children who just want to watch live sport for the thrill and love of the game, not be exposed to odds and other gambling advertising. From my perspective, I know my constituents will welcome the further gambling advertising restrictions in this package as a community dividend from these comprehensive broadcasting reforms. As you know, Minister, the package will also provide relief for broadcasters by abolishing the cumbersome broadcasting fees charged to free-to-air networks from the bygone era when they occupied a dominance in the market, replacing them with a spectrum charge more appropriate to their use of terrestrial broadcasting spectrum. Further, the government proposes to abolish the 2 out of 3 media ownership rule and the 75% reach rule to reflect the current state of the market and allow media organisations to configure themselves in the way they see fit. Important protections against too much concentration of ownership will remain in the form of the 5/4 independent voice rule, the 1 to a market rule for television and the 2 to a market rule for radio. I have on a number of occasions the Labor Party, and in particular the member for Greenway, been critical of the government's media reform proposals. Labor said the original proposal was to reform just the ownership rules was piecemeal. They called for a comprehensive approach. My understanding is that whilst the previous proposals was important and enjoyed the support of most of the media industry, the government has now put forward a very comprehensive and holistic package. It contains the abolition of licence fees, a new spectrum charge, changes to the anti-siphoning scheme and list, further restrictions on gambling advertising in live sport. I assume Labor's opposed to that because they're arcing up, and critical changes to restrictive ownership rules that are holding Australian companies back. The government has also announced a review of the Australian and children's screen content and a $30 million package of support for the broadcasting of women's, niche and underrepresented sports. It is a very comprehensive plan, the only comprehensive plan in town, and it enjoys the support of the entire media industry. Minister, you would think Labor would welcome this package and support it through the parliament. But no. Labor say they have a problem with it. They have a problem with it. So what is their comprehensive plan? David Crowe reports in The Australian today that the member for Greenway told caucus they would support a standalone bill that just dealt with the 75% reach rule. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Labor call for comprehensive reform, and their policy is to support a bill with just one single change to one ownership rule. It beggars belief. Beggars belief. Minister, if you were looking for a comprehensive reform plan for Australia's media industry, who would you rather take advice from? On the one hand, 7, 9, 10, Prime, WIN, Southern Cross Australia, Foxtel News Limited, Fairfax and the commercial radio industry. They are unanimous in their support for the Turnbull government's plan and have called for it to be passed in its entirety. Or on the other hand, the member for Greenway and her plan to do very little and let Australian companies wither and die. This is the Labor approach to policy: score cheap political points, no matter the cost to jobs, livelihoods and children watching sport. Minister, can you explain why the Turnbull government's plan is so comprehensive and holistic? How will it ensure the ongoing viability and strength of Australia's critical media industry? What support does it enjoy from industry? And what alternative, comprehensive and holistic plans for media reform are you aware of?
Give the call to the member for Greenway.
Thank you.